Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is the Marto N1400 Bowie knife. It's not expensive and it is carbon steel. It has a hand forged blade. This tree came down during the winter gales. I've been sawing it up, but in order to delimb it I've been using this, and in the time it took to do that the handle's gone all wobbly. Can you see that? Well, that's not really good enough. Let's drill out these brass rivets, take the handle off, and see if we can't make this into a full-tang Bowie. When I came to centre punch the rivets, one took the punch and the other started to drive out, which might explain, or partly explain, the looseness of this handle. So, whoever forged this lovely blade really thought that was enough of a tang. I think we can do better. Actually, before we move on, this is interesting. Whoever manufactured this knife sought to mitigate the problems of the wobbly handle and the wobbly guard by brazing the guard quite thoroughly to the pitiful excuse for a tang. There we go. Let's hope it fits once I've cut it out. Note how I've left plenty of room for the weld to occupy. That's another way of saying I made the fit a bit looser than I meant to. The blade, which is my favourite part of this knife, came mirror polished. I'm not keen on mirror polished blades because I find that I never want to use them. I'm always afraid of marring the finish. So, as you can see, this blade's very, very prone to corrosion, and it's done all this corrosion in its own sheath, supplied sheath. So I might have a look at that as well. Apparently the way forward is to boil the blade in vinegar. This only works with carbon steel blades. Not one of the YouTube videos I watched telling me how to do this prepared me for the smell. It does really work though. Look at that, it's turned black. I'm extremely impressed. This is the guard that came with the knife. I did some damage to it getting it off so that I could patinate the blade, but also I don't really like it very much. It's very flat and then there's one bend, then it's flat again. I'm going to try and change the shape a bit, see if I can make this more to my taste. If not, I'll make another one. There we go. The bends have a much more constant radius now. I'm happy with that. As the top of the handle is wider than the length of the slot in the guard will have to be in position when I come to weld on the handle. I would like to weld it on nice and straight. The trouble is with this forest of clamps, it's always very difficult to see whether it's straight or not. I think at the moment it's too far that way and needs a little tap with the hammer to push it that way before I proceed. When I came to whip the clamps off and check that it was straight, I found that I've irrevocably welded this clamp to the knife. Yeah, I know it looks terrible, but we'll see how it looks once I've ground it down. Well, I think that'll do. One annoying thing, using this clamp has damaged my false patina. Very upset about that. This handle is not symmetrical. I've just made a paper template, carefully replicating all the slightly wrong angles, and I'm going to have to work out what I need to do to straighten this handle out and get it nice and balanced. I don't know how this happened. By folding the template along its centre line, or as near as I can judge to be its centre line, I'm able to see where I need to remove material to get the thing looking symmetrical again. It is a nuisance, but I'm very glad I noticed it now. There are those YouTube knife makers who sit at a computer and say, yes, I quite like that handle shape, I'll just export that to the plasma cutter. Well, I am not one of those YouTubers, and the time I've just spent trying to get this handle reasonably symmetrical attests to that, as do the injuries on my fingers and knuckles. This is my first video about making a coffin handled knife, but as you can see it's not my first attempt. This one I don't like because I didn't correct it when I realised it was wonky. I thought, it won't notice, and now I can't bear to look at the thing. Still, with these smaller knives I've contented myself with 6 pins, as you can see. However, for this bigger knife, and its bigger handle, I think I'm going to drill 8 holes this time. I haven't done too well. That's fine. Those two are more or less okay, and these two, well, I'll have to sort them out too, but as I look at this now, it looks to me as though that handle is drooping down. Am I right? Yeah, the top edge seems almost parallel with the top edge of the blade. No, that won't do. I'm going to have to correct that first before I sort out the problem with the holes. I've made what I hope is a slightly wedge-shaped cut. I'm going to close that up and see how it looks. Okay, hopefully that will be better. I'm going to weld it. There, good as new. And I hope we can agree to keep this little error between ourselves and never to discuss it again. Now to deal with those pesky, wrongly positioned holes. See the hole at the centre of your screen? I'm not happy with it. It's so near the edge that it's actually burst through. And there's a sort of bulge around it. I think I need to fill that with weld and then grind it back before I re-drill. That's annoying. I did that, and then I tried to drill through there and it just will not drill. I went and got a new drill bit, brand new, wouldn't drill through, just sat there screeching. So I went down, and well, that's as close as I have got them. I'm going to have to drill each one out a millimetre bigger so that then they'll line up. It's a bit of a cheat because the pins won't be touching steel as they go through, they'll just be going through a big void in the steel, but it's only 2 out of 8. And now to the question of what wood to use for the side scales. This piece came from a bench in my mum's garden. I'm pretty sure it's teak, and it's exactly the right thickness. Let's sand it down and see how decent it looks. Oh yeah, that looks very nice. Okay, I'm going to use these. Because I didn't drill the holes in the right places and I had to open some of them out, I'm concerned about getting all the pins to look right. So what I've done is I've glued one of my side scales directly to the tang. When that glue goes off, I'll use the tang as a template to drill through the wood. Then I can glue the other piece of wood on, flip the whole thing over and drill through the existing holes. Well, that kind of worked. If you look at the back, they're pretty, almost not too terrible. When I looked at my side scale from the edge, I was appalled to see that despite all the clamps, it hadn't sat smoothly down, and then I realised the tang wasn't flat. So I did my best to flatten it with a file, and then I hogged some wood out of the back of the scale, and this is attempt 2, this time not just with the spring-loaded things, but with actual G-clamps. So we'll see how we do. I've got the second one turning as well. That's Craftsman for you. That got them out. It's hard to grip something as hard as the drill bit with anything other than top-notch self-locking pliers. So my plan, as it stands, is to take advantage of this. I'll glue a piece of timber to this side, let that go off, and then put it on the drill press and drill straight down through all these holes. And in theory, everything will line up. We'll see. The epoxy's been going off for quite a while. I should be okay to remove these clamps now on the second side scale. And now I should be able to drill straight through. Good. Let's trim off some of the excess wood. I had run out of my usual 10-minute epoxy and I bought this stuff. Unfortunately, however, it's rubbish at dealing with temperatures. Literally, the warmth caused by trimming down the wood with a belt sander made one of the side scales fall off. And when I stuck it back on, I indexed it with my same 2 drill bits, but when I came to try to remove them, disaster struck, and one of them is now one of the pins. I've given the handle something of a coffin-like shape by going round with a file, actually, seeing as it doesn't like the heat from my belt sander. And now it's time to think about pins. I'll be cutting my pins from these dead beach umbrella ribs. They're exactly the right size, which is about 2.5 millimeters. If I close in with the sun at just that angle, you can see how rough this is. So yeah, I need to find a more sympathetic tool and start to refine the finish a little. What I've been doing is this, using this chunk of old joist as a sort of improvised anvil. I've been driving the pins in, they're very tight, and then after driving in each pin I try and trim it to shape with an angle grinder. This is not going well. I need to rethink this strategy because I'm doing a lot of damage to the wood. I think basically it's evening. The camera shows it as being lighter than it is because it's able to capture infrared to augment its power. So yeah, it's darker than it looks and I can't see very well and I should stop really. Right, the pins are in, and it turns out that it was over ambitious of me to try and put them all on the bevel. Yes, I'm afraid it really is that bad. Got one burst right through, one halfway through. It's been a bit of a disaster. So, any other coffin handle Bowies I make, I'll be putting the pins on the flats, not on the chamfers. Luckily I bought this Bowie as a garden chopper and I don't really mind. I'm going to keep it the way it is. It's not as if it's a product for a client or something. I'll treat the handle with teak oil. And that's the colour we'll eventually get. No stain required. Teak, I love the colour as it is. I've just got back from the doctor. It turns out that I made this handle with conjunctivitis. I had an eye infection and I didn't know. I thought it was arc eye. I knew I couldn't see very well. Anyway, in light of that, I'm not going to fiddle with the sheath. Instead, I'm going to conduct an experiment. The sheath always used to make this blade rust. I'm going to store the blade in the sheath now that I've given it the boiling in vinegar treatment, and we'll see over time whether that ferric oxide really does deter the formation of ferrous oxide. One thing I have noticed is that the blade feels a lot nicer in the hand with the extra mass of the full-tang. It doesn't feel so front heavy and axe-like. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, chopping up this tree. I'm planning to use this dead tree to fuel my furnace, my blast furnace, which I also sometimes use as a forge. So although I'm sorry to lose the tree, it certainly won't be going to waste. Well, this is great. I really feel I can wail on this now. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as ever, thanks for watching.